If you've ever had resentments towards your parents and you're angry, you're frustrated, if you didn't get an apology or recognition for the harm that they caused, if you're holding on to these painful memories and want to learn how to let go from them and start healing, this episode's going to be for you. Hey everyone, welcome to Real Influence. My name is Vaillancourt. This is the show where we talk about living life as a great experiment, mastering yourself to get everything you want so you can start living your dream life now, and by thinking differently, to free yourself from the life you possibly hate to start living a life you love. And today we're going to be talking about forgiveness. Now, I'm a father myself, and today we're going to be talking about parents and how to forgive them. I'm in total awareness that I'm going to be doing things wrong with my kids. So it's really important for me to practice this now on my parents, both for myself, for healing, as well as for my kids so that I don't bring the baggage along with me anymore. And listen, I get the fact that I'm going to mess up as a parent. We all are. Even if we had the best of intentions, our parents had the best of intentions, yet somehow they let us down at some point. So it's important for me to practice this so my kids can see me practicing this with others, including my parents, so that they can also go through this practice if ever I do them wrong. And don't get me wrong, I had great parents. They were caring, they were loving, they were kind, they were supportive. They were my number one fan. And even in that supportive environment, I still had things that I resented, things I need to forgive them for. So it's not a judgment upon them. It's our own interpretation of how things happen in our life. So even if they didn't see it as something they did wrong, but I do, it's important for me to heal. It's important for me to forgive. And this is the practice I'm going to share with you that I've developed into my life that's changed the game. So I'm going to take you through 5 different steps. One of these steps is going to be the full process on how to run through a forgiveness practice. So first, I'm going to take you through the 5 steps of this forgiveness practice. Again, we're focused on parents today, but ultimately this can be anyone in your life. So point number 1 is you have to honor their suffering. And what I mean by that, my parents are great, but some of the things that I took away from my childhood were people can't be trusted because of a tragic car accident my parents went through. They lost their daughter in an accident. And from there, they didn't trust people around them. They didn't want to forgive other people. And I have to honor that suffering. As a parent, I can't even imagine suffering the loss of that magnitude and the beliefs that I would have had coming out of that situation. So I'm going to honor that. I'm not also going to shame them and I'm not going to embarrass them because, again, I'm trying to honor who they were at that time. They had conditioned behaviors passed on from generations before them. Think about how much scarcity there was back in the generations where there was world wars, there was famines, there was these outbreaks, things happening, and people were just trying to survive. So I'm going to honor that memory of them, who they were as kids, who their parents were, and why they are the way they are. And when you get down to this level, you can start to have some compassion, where they were coming from. Sure, they maybe didn't do everything that you would have loved for them to have done as a parent, and maybe there's things that they realized that they should have done differently, but you have to honor where they're coming from and honor their own suffering or honor their experience. Number 2 is honor their love, gratitude. Everyone talks about gratitude and we all understand the psychological benefits that gratitude has. But really, I want you to connect with gratefulness and love for your parents. And depending on your upbringing, this might be really challenging or really easy, but it lays a foundation of care, of love, compassion before going into the forgiveness practice. And what we're doing here is we're really down-regulating that nervous system before we go into a heated exchange. The beauty of this process I'm going to share is that it's all done in our mind. We don't have to actually confront anybody, and we don't have to put anyone on jury, although it's going to be in our minds. So we don't have to actually get an apology. That's the beautiful part of this forgiveness practice. It's totally internal. But I want you to connect with that for a second. What love, what memories, what things did they do right? Let's honor their love and be grateful for the things that were really good in our life, in our upbringing, in our parents. It can be going on vacation. It can be something they bought you. It can be something they said to you. They must have done something right, and we want to focus on that and even build a list of evidence of things that you're grateful for from your parents. Number 3 is honor their intent. Again, nobody does things for the most part, okay? There's some people that maybe are mean-spirited, and I hope that they find healing along the way. But for the most part, our parents had the best of intentions for us. I know being a parent for my kids right now, sometimes I have the best of intentions, but my impatience gets the best of me. My control gets the best of me. My core programs, my default that I resort to when I'm tired comes out. But I love them. I love them unconditionally. So what we want to do is really honor the intent. Even if you're not a parent yourself yet, if you're a team leader, if you're a community leader, if you have somebody looking up to you and you're looking to impress them or love them or give them support, you have best of intentions. So let's honor that intent, again, that they actually were trying to do good for us, even if in the moment it probably wasn't the right thing to do. And number 4 is honor the contrast. Okay, so contrast comes in the form of what was done to you and how did it build you into the person you are today? You have unique gifts. I have unique talents. We all have these things that we're known for. Even if we don't recognize them in the moment, we are special, okay, in a good way. And the reason why we're the way we are because based on the experiences we've had. Some are good and some are bad. The bad ones we can learn from, but ultimately they all shape us. So I want to honor that contrast, going back to being grateful for the experience. There's something that happened that made me into who I am today. And there's lessons that can be taken from that and opportunities that we can build upon. For me, as an example, there were times where I didn't feel heard or I didn't feel seen. And it wasn't because of my parents, it's because of society and the community I was a part of. But as a result of that, because of that contrast, now with my kids, I listen more, I work on myself. I'm aware that no one's perfect. So the contrast that I built up was little things like when I was young, I didn't feel like I was heard, I felt insignificant, I didn't feel seen. And a lot of that wasn't just my parents, they didn't try to make me feel like that, I was just that way. But as a result of that, now I listen more and I work on myself. I understand why I don't feel heard in situations and I understand the underlying root cause of that belief and I work at that. So ultimately, I'm aware that no one's perfect, including myself. So I judge less and I'm hyper aware of my actions. And I made significant changes in being this way. So everything from considering, should I stop drinking? Should I stop doing this? Just having that self-awareness is something that my parents and their parents might not have had that level of self-awareness. It's not to say they weren't considering things that they wanted to improve, but I really want to honor the contrast of what that built into me, that now I'm able to impart with my kids, my relationships, with my wife, with my friends, and my community. Okay, now we're going to move into number 5, the process to forgive. This is the actual step-by-step process. You're going to want to bookmark this part of the video. At the same time, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with a friend if you've liked what you've seen so far. But this is going to be the part you can return to every time you want to go through this practice. So this is a powerful lesson that I was taught, and I've repeated this process probably over 100 times on all these little micro experiences, these micro traumas, these micro forgivenesses that I wanted to dig into because I needed to heal. And again, we go back to sometimes you think you need an apology, you need recognition, you need validation that somebody understands your suffering, when in reality, that's not always the case. Sometimes somebody's passed on, they moved away. You don't feel comfortable sharing with the person. You don't have to in this practice. This is a very private thing just for you. And the beautiful part I'm going to share is that it transforms everything around you, including the people you're forgiving, even without them knowing that you forgave them for something. So it's very non-confrontational. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, if you already practice meditation, you're going to want to go into your meditative practice zone, somewhere where it's distraction-free and you can be alone and you can sit down and be comfortable and be at peace. If you've never meditated, don't worry, it's not that hard. And all you have to do is sit down and close your eyes. Again, somewhere comfortable, somewhere distraction-free. So once you're seated comfortably, you're going to close your eyes. You're going to think of something you want to forgive your parents for, or somebody you want to forgive something for. It doesn't have to be your parents, but in this case, we're going to work through parents. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a divine courtroom in your mind. It sounds fancy, but listen, it's super easy. I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to be imagining a scenario. We're going to be imagining we're in a courtroom and there's jurors. And these jurors are these divine beings. Think of people like Jesus, like Buddha, like the Dalai Lama, these unimpeachable people, these people of not perfection, but people of ultimate grace and peace and who can practice forgiveness with you. Okay, ideally, they're non-living beings. It doesn't have to be spiritually connected or religiously connected. It could just be somebody that you respect and uphold a strong value in what you want to bring into your life. And they're going to be your jurors throughout this whole process. They're going to be listening to you as you lay it out, as you completely dump on the person that you want to forgive. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to invite this person. And if it's your dad or your mom or one of your caretakers, whoever was taking care of you, or again, any person you want to forgive, you're going to invite them to this courtroom. You're going to sit them on trial. This is your chance now. At this moment, you're going to share with them what they did and how they caused you harm. And it's at this point, you can spend as much time as you want. In your mind, you're going to say, when you took away my toys, you made me feel unappreciated. You made me sad. You made me angry. How dare you for doing this? It made me feel like nothing in the world was possible. You're just going to continue to build this case. this is your chance. Again, it's all in your mind, so you can let it all go. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna actually connect to the emotion. What emotion did you feel? If you can sense it in your body, identify where in your body you sense it. Sometimes people feel it in their guts, sometimes people feel it on their shoulders, but then you're gonna want it identified in your body and then rate it from 1 to 10. 1 being the least amount of pain and 10 being the absolute most excruciating pain you've ever dealt with. And you're gonna feel that emotion and you're gonna just sit with that. After you've dumped on them, after you've connected the emotion, you've identified it, you've rated it, you're gonna sit in that, and it's gonna be uncomfortable for this part. Do you really wanna connect with what that pain was at that time in your life? Then we're gonna move into the forgiveness part of this, and there's a couple ways to do it. I'm gonna share the 4 ways that I've been taught, and you're basically gonna reflect on the gift. The gift can come as a learning, a redirection, a reflection, or a setup. So I'll give you a couple examples for practical applications here. In a learning, I could say that I'm so grateful my parents worked to provide a life for me with their 9 to 5. Maybe their 9 to 5 took away things from me. Maybe I didn't have enough time to spend with them. And maybe it's things that I initially thought that I needed to do. I needed to get a 9 to 5 job, but I actually resented it because I didn't like 9 to 5. And at first I was like, how dare my parents for not teaching me other ways I could have made money, made a career, made a living. But as a result, the contrast was that I did have more opportunities because I created the desire that 9 to 5 wasn't for me, and I saw that they went through suffering in their own 9 to 5s. Now, next one is a redirection. A redirection could be, I'm grateful that I went to school for something I didn't end up doing. So at the time, I kind of resented my parents for like, hey, how come you didn't know that my electronics technologist degree was gonna be obsolete? Literally after they graduated me, they deprecated the program. The program was not available anymore because there was no jobs. And I was upset. I was like, how can my parents not understand? How could they not foresee this? I have no opportunity. But as a result, I actually went into a different career, but I needed to go through the contrast. I needed to go through the pain. And ultimately, they did the best they could with the decisions that they had to make at the time. And in the end, it led to even better opportunities because I had a perfect path that led me to where I am today. The next thing is reflection. You could try to apply reflection of, I'm grateful that they had a relationship. It might have been a bad relationship. They might not have loved each other enough. And as a result, I didn't feel enough love. I felt torn between my parents. But because I had that contrast, I was able to create the desire now of what I wanted in life, what I wanted in a partner, what I wanted to receive and give as love, kindness, and forgiveness to another person. I would have never potentially known that if I didn't see the lack of in this other situation. The 4th one is a setup. So imagine, I'm grateful that their scarcity mindset with money, at the time it felt like money was scarce. We were always pinching pennies. We had to save, we had to be careful with money. Money wasn't abundant. Money was actually a control mechanism between my parents at some times. But as a result, I developed a scarcity mindset. I didn't want to be pinching pennies. I wanted to make enough money that I can be happy and live my life without ever having to worry about it. So yeah, I did experience a scarcity thing. Yes, it was scary. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like to see the parental dynamics that it created between my parents. But as a result, I was driven to really excel in my career, make more money so that I didn't experience that pain in my relationship, or at least put everything into what I could so that I didn't experience it.